everybody. Welcome to another Quran study. Today we'll be reading from Surah 40, starting at verse 72. Let's all seek refuge in God from Satan the rejected. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. 72. In the inferno, then in the fire they will burn. They will be asked, where are the idols you used to worship beside God? They will say, they have abandoned us. In fact, when we worship them, we were worshiping nothing. Thus does God send the disbelievers astray. So the subtitle here is they worship nothing, because these idols aren't even real. They're not even real in the sense, not even just in the sense that, things of this world are an illusion, but, in fact, they were worshiping nothing, in the sense that these idols, whether it was Muhammad or somebody else, or Jesus, or a statue or something, whatever the case would be, these idols have no power. Because if we remember from the Quran, La quwwata illa billah, which means no one possesses power except God. And so, by definition, these things are helpless, powerless. They're nothing. And in that regard, so there's a footnote for verse 72. I think regarding the inferno. So, reading the footnote, those who did not prepare themselves will suffer tremendously in the presence of God on the day of judgment. They cannot stand the closeness to God due to lack of sufficient growth and development of their souls. I am using inferno to describe this particular situation, which is also described in 55:44. Preparation of the soul is accomplished by the rites decreed by God, such as the contact prayer. So yeah, these are people that will be circulating in this inferno, and they'll never be able to escape from it, because they once the day of judgment happens, that's the respite's been over. Not just for Satan, but in the sense I think respite would be the correct, word to use, but it's been over for us as well. There's nothing else we can do in terms of growing our soul, because the predetermined end term is up. So whatever we sent ahead for ourselves, whatever we did positive for ourselves in terms of the soul, is going to be done. And so for same thing for the disbelievers, whatever they regressed, and the negative and lack thereof, the stuff they did for their souls, it's going to be permanent. So they won't be able to stand the presence of God, and so they're going to be trapped in this particular situation, as it's also mentioned in verse 44 of Surah 55. And we know from, hang on one second. Okay, sorry about that. So we know from Surah, we know from doing the contact prayers, this is a huge meal for the soul. And so this is part of our preparation, for the day of judgment and our worship practices. And we also, it's important too that these suffices like the main meals, but we also have a lot of other ways to feed our souls and grow our souls through zikr, through the righteous works, through remembrance of God, making God our God, these, and not committing idol worship, because if we commit idol worship, it'll nullify everything. And so that's also so important, and knowing God's traits and that He's doing everything, and that we don't get trapped or tricked into thinking that somebody can help us, whether it's a person we meet or somebody at the grocery store for whatever reason. If you can't find an item, if that person helps you find that item, it's really God doing that. So we have to get on ourselves to think that way. And same thing, for work or whatnot, because God is running everything. That's one of the most important zikrs. Moving on, verse 75. This is because you used to rejoice in false doctrines on earth, and you used to promote them. Enter the gates of Gehenna, wherein you abide forever. What a miserable destiny for the arrogant ones. You shall be patient, for God's promise is the truth, is truth. Whether we show you some of the retribution we have promised for them or terminate your life before that day will be returned to us. Excuse me. So, these people, they rejoice in their idols and stuff, and they celebrate, and they think their idols can do something for them, or even their false doctrines, and not just, even religious quote-unquote doctrines. You have some people that, follow like this universe theory or singularity type stuff, and they get all, excited about it, and it's just theory. They don't have anything to back it up, or even if they talk about like quantum this, quantum that, it's just nonsense, really. And then there's, people that even promote this stuff, and those people are obviously we can see their destiny and, for their arrogance, that denying their creator and, basically their opinions of their gods, right? And they lead other people astray, and by doing that. But we're told, in verse 77 that you shall be patient, for God's promise is the truth. And so, his promise to the submitters and believers and his messengers is most assuredly going to come to pass. So we have to be patient and steadfast, and which are very, is only attainable with God's help, as he tells us in the Quran. Now, this part, whether we show you some of the retribution we have promised for them or terminate your life before that, they will be returned to us. So I'm understanding that as when God annihilates people or generations or groups of people, or even individually, we're basically told that these people, whether the messengers or the believers see evil people or whatnot, be annihilated, or even if we don't live to see that type of stuff, that, being reminded and told that these people are going to return to God no matter what, because to God is the ultimate destiny, is the final destiny for everybody, so nobody escapes, even if we don't witness the judgment in this world or annihilation, we can rest assured that it's gonna come to pass for everybody. God's authorization for the Quran's mathematical miracle. We have sent messengers before you. Some of them we mentioned to you, and some we did not mention to you. No messenger can produce any miracle without God's authorization. Once God's judgment is issued, the truth dominates, and the falsifiers are exposed and humiliated. So there's a footnote for this one too. We learn from 17, verse 45 to 46, Surah 18, verse 57, and Surah 56, verse 79, that the unbelievers have no access to the Quran. Only the believers and the sincere seekers are permitted by God to understand it. The Quran's mathematical code, quote unquote, one of the greatest miracles, and that's 74, verse 30 to 35, was authorized by God and revealed through his messenger, the covenant, and you can see Appendix 2 for more information. So yeah, this is and it's his messengership to the messenger of the covenant was very important. As it was revealed, this miracle was revealed to him, and it's kind of an example like he's given before. When people flunked and dropped out and had to be tested in that way, when he came forward with his messengership, which he's known for many years about. It's kind of like if you get a medicine from somebody, right, and it works. He's telling, this person gives you, 2 pills or something, and it works, and then you come back and he gives you more. You're kind of left thinking, is it really the pills that are working, or is it just coincidence, or, is this person a legitimate doctor, or is he a witch doctor or something, or what? But, if this person comes to you with proof or tells you he's a certified doctor, then you actually know, okay, it's the real deal. You're not going to have any doubts anymore about the pills you're taking for the medicine. So in the same sense that on that token as well, not just being a test for people and then killing the egos and stuff, it's also important because anything he brings to us or tells you that you could have had doubts about, like for example, like I had one of the last things was the age of 40, but once you see the proofs and stuff, it's completely removed. You believe in everything without any doubts. Because he's been authenticated. He's a commissioned, certified messenger, and so that's really a blessing to know that. So you're not left, kind of wondering. We can see they only God's authorization. So this is why this book, as we're reading out of, this is the authorized final testament, is the authorized translation. Ultimately the truth dominates and the falsifiers are exposed and humiliated. So people can, against God, against the truth, they have nothing. It's just falsehood, which falsehood, from what God tells us in the Quran, it's inevitably going to vanish, and the truth the truth will dominate. God is the one who created the livestock for you. Some you ride and some you eat. They also provide you with additional benefits that satisfy many of your needs on them, as well as the ships you are carried. He thus shows you his proofs. Which of God's proofs can you deny? Just looking at, cows or something, you can, it's just that these creatures are alive and moving around and like they can think and do different things. It's like, humans get all impressed because you build a robot or something, that maybe can do like 1/millionth of what a cow can do, in the sense that, the complex systems within a cow, it doesn't need to have batteries recharged, it doesn't need to be plugged into a wall. Just in that respect, it's amazing. They have eyeballs and that are hooked to the brain, and and they reproduce too. These robots can't just think for themselves and just reproduce. Even if they could, they could. It's just not feasible. It couldn't happen. So just in that sense, God be glorified. And then on top of that, they satisfy many of our needs. For food, for traveling. Something we can ride. Horses and this. Too. I guess you could ride cows too. If you wanted to, maybe they wouldn't like that, but I don't know, maybe. But nonetheless, we have hides and stuff from their livestock, many valuable, many blessings, from these animals, and so this is This is definitely, we can see there's a system, there's a design for this, and that somebody has created these things to be in our service and provide for us. So these are proofs, for people to reflect upon. Have they not roamed the earth and noted the consequences for those who preceded them? They used to be greater in number, greater in power, and possessed a greater legacy on earth, yet all their achievements did not help them in the least. When their messengers went to them with clear proofs, they rejoiced in the knowledge they had inherited, and the very things they ridiculed were the cause of their fall. Subsequently, when they saw a retribution, they said, "Now we believe in God alone, and we now disbelieve in the idol worship that we used to practice." Their belief then could not help them in the least once they saw a retribution. Such is God's system that has been established to deal with his creatures. The disbelievers are always doomed. It could seem like really obvious for us, but I mean, for these people, it should have been just as obvious, but their wickedness blinds them, right? And their arrogance, right? Their ego blinds them to even just look at this point about how generations before them, prior to Pharaoh, as powerful as Pharaoh, he was referred to as the mighty Pharaoh and stuff, as powerful as he was in his army, I mean, there was people prior to him that were even stronger, that came the generations before them, and even the generations after Pharaoh that were also annihilated, they could look back on Pharaoh, and despite, so for each generation they had precedents set for them, and they knew, the history was kept up and stuff, and so they knew the consequences. They knew that these people rebelled, turned wicked, and that they were wiped out, but for some reason, and they were stronger than they, but for some reason they thought they were probably special or something different, and that their achievements, in the sense that they could build maybe fantastic homes or fortified structures or whatever, it didn't help them. They couldn't escape, in any possible way, and they're ridiculing too. We can see, instead of turning righteous or just being, even if you're not sure, or you just neutral in the sense, maybe that could have helped them or been, could have set them on a path to be saved. But we can see that their evil, their arrogance and stuff caused them to ridicule clear proofs, right? When their messengers went to them with proofs, and so it's the same thing with today and today's generation, that we have the proof, and we can see the retribution that's going to come that's talked about in Surah 44. That's going to come to the disbelieving factions that rejected this Quranic truth and the Quranic miracle. And so, even, when that comes, they might be saying something like this, but we can see here it's going to be too late, So, this has been the system, right? This has been the system that's constantly, this is God's system, and he's the most gracious, most merciful. So, when people are wiped out due to their consequences, who's more gracious and merciful than God? So these people really deserved it, and this is a system that's been established to deal with his creatures, and the disbelievers are always doomed, so they're not going to get ahead, they're not going to get ahead of the believers or the submitters. They're not going to succeed or triumph. Even despite what goes on in the world and stuff, it's just it's all temporary. It's all playing games to those people. But by the end, they're going to be the losers. So Surah 41, detailed Fusilat. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. HM Hamim. So let's revelation from the most gracious, most merciful, a scripture whose verses provide the complete details in Arabic, a scripture whose verses provide the complete details in an Arabic Quran for people who know. A bearer of good news as well as a warner. However, most of them turn away, they do not hear. So this one has a footnote for verse 1. So for the significance of these Quranic initials, see footnote 40-1. We'll just real quick, because this is important, a miracle. So the initials Hamim occurs in surahs 40 to 46. The total frequency of occurrence of the letters Ha and Mim in the 7 surahs is 2,147, or 19 times 113. SubhanAllah. So all the H and M's, like in Arabic, if you're to look at this, it's really amazing, because even if you challenge somebody to do this, in the sense like they had to come up with an extra verse or something, let's say to add an H, or they tried, by doing so, they might accidentally add something that has an M. And in that case, it will throw off the whole system. And then if you look further and deeper into this miracle, just by adding another verse or extra letters and stuff, it completely collapses even more intricate parts of the miracle, like further, that are in Appendix 1. It's God be glorified. It's such an incredible and perfected system. It's extremely delicate too, in that sense I'm talking about. So that's why, when somebody, they can say what they want, but they can try to challenge, this. But even if you ask them to produce just one chapter like this, they couldn't without making mistakes. And then not only that, it has to make sense, too. It can't just be like a bunch of scribble scrabble, Huda Badoo type stuff. It has to actually, have letters, and it has to make words. And then not only that, it has to form a correct sentence grammatically. It also has to be consistent with the message, and on top of that, it can't be contradicting. So. And then we can see the entire message of the Quran, God alone, and that God is one, which is a perfect message too. Like it doesn't have any human factors and stuff. So because we know how humans are, and the people who falsified and corrupted scriptures from the past, they always have to put their opinions and put reverence for other human beings in their messages or stuff, whether it's Jesus or Muhammad or whatnot. So we can see that this is definitely revelation from God. They said our minds are made up, our ears are deaf to your message, and a barrier separates us from you. You do what you want, and so will we. So this is a tragic trait, of people saying their minds are made up. And I was just reading, I think, from Surah 2 the other day, that it said, a tragic trait, quote unquote, our minds are made up. And it went on to say that, these people, it's God augments their disease, and essentially, they've chosen to disbelieve, and so in fact, it said it's a curse from God, because they've chose to disbelieve in the truth. So it's something that they can have nothing. They have no one to blame but themselves. Not even their leaders or followers, for that sake. It's them, because they could abandon their false leaders or their bad friends and stuff that invite them, to idol worship. 6, say, I am no more than a human being like you, who has been inspired that your God is one God. You shall be devoted to him and ask his forgiveness. Woe to the idol worshippers. So, constantly repenting too, is really important just all through the day. Even if you're not sure or you don't, that's definitely good to repent. Because there's things, that we could be aware or unaware about, So it's always good to ask for a new slate, and something that I've been trying to be more conscious about after, helps us as submitters. It helps us, keep get better and keep our priorities straight, and reminds us of God too, because we're bearing witness that He's the forgiver and that He's the only one that can forgive sins, not Jesus, not Muhammad. That's exclusively belongs to God, as He's our creator. So nobody else can forgive us. And the fact that they try to take that from God is evil. Or they don't see it that way, but it's very bad. That they try to steal God's traits as being the most gracious, most merciful, and giving it to some human they never met or never know, or that was once a baby too, just like a baby in a sense, they were an infant, just like all of us, but it's just they go to these extreme lengths in idol worshiping, and they don't think of it like that. Woe to the idol worshippers who do not give the obligatory charity zakah, and with regard to the hereafter, they are disbelievers. As for those who believe and lead a righteous life, they receive a well-deserved recompense. This is stuff to look forward to, and this is we don't do it for it, but this is just a consequence, a good cause and effect for following God's system and law, and being a willing submitter. Say you disbelieve in the one who created the earth in 2 days, and you set up idols to rank with him, though he is the Lord of the universe. He placed on it stabilizers, mountains, made it productive, and he calculated its provisions in 4 days to satisfy the needs of all its inhabitants. Then he turned to the sky when it was still gas, and said to it, and to the earth, come into existence, willingly or unwillingly. They said, we come willingly. Thus he completed the 7 universes in 2 days, and set up the laws for every universe. And we adorned the lowest universe with lamps and placed guards around it. Such is the design of the Almighty, the Omniscient. So these have, some of those verses have footnote. So 9 and 10, the days of creation represent a yardstick. Thus, the physical universe was created in 2 days, while the calculation of provisions for all the creatures on earth required 4. This also teaches us that there is life only on this planet, Earth. God alone created the universe, and that's also in Surah 18, verse 51. But the angels participated in handling certain jobs of the lowest universe, in the lowest universe. Our universe cannot stand the physical presence of God, and we see that in Surah 7, 143. The plural tense acknowledges the angel's role in our universe. And so that one is referring to this, so God was is the initiator, the creator, the designer, however, as we know, the angels had jobs and stuff too, and helping had certain jobs, right, in the lowest universe, and that's the universe we're in, because we can see that the lowest universe is adorned with lamps and stars, and plus there's guards around it too, so we know from Surah 72, if the outer limits are if the jinns and Satan or Satan's devils, try to escape, or I mean maybe the good jinns too, but I don't know if a good jinn would try to go spy or whatnot, but who knows, but regardless of the fact, you know, God is the creator, and he completed the universes, all 7 universes in 2 days, and all the laws were set up, so each universe, has certain laws, and we only, I was gonna say we only know about this universe, but I have to take that back because there's still so many mysteries just in this universe. We're not even talking about the second universe, which is, exponentially bigger than the first. It's not just, just like, if you, the way it was described, a ball within a ball, it could be, tenfold the size. That's just the second one, and the third one, even larger, exponentially, and so forth. So, just in this universe, there's so many amazing things happening elsewhere and going on that we still don't understand, and we're still learning about and stuff. So God be glorified. We can see that right here, as mentioned in the footnote, that all the provisions and stuff were calculated, right? For the humans, for the birds, for the animals. Even for the trees. How much water each tree is gonna need or get. The fish of the sea, even these, the bottom dwellers at the, creatures like we've never even seen, or we just discovered like in the last year these new types of species that all those creatures are provided for and have been calculated. So it's very very amazing. Warning, verse 13. If they turn away, then say, I am warning you of a disaster like the disaster that annihilated Ad and Thamud. Their messengers went to them as well as before them and after them, saying, you shall not worship except God. They said, had our Lord willed, he could have sent angels. We are disbelievers in what you say. So this is a tragic trait, as we know, from the human, that they demand greater proofs, and really they're just hypocrites and liars, because even if you send them a greater proof, even if he calls the Quran, like God tells us in the Quran, if you send a Quran that calls mountains to move, like they'll ask for something like that, and even if you give them something like that, the thing that they're asking for, then they turn even more wicked. Like no, like that's magic, or our eyes have been bewitched or something, and then they'll ask for something even more, and if you give them that, so it's not authentic what they're asking for. They're just being ingenuine, so regardless whether whether you send a messenger is always going to be a human being. So if they're not going to believe in that, they're not going to believe in anything else. Even if you sent angels, the whole matter would have been decided, as we're told in the Quran. It would have been, because in that sense, if I'm correct, I think that's the case, because it's like, who's not going to believe, then it's not even, I guess, I don't think it would be a proper test in that regard. Like the whole matter would have been already. So we can see, we can see they've been annihilated. So, the disbelievers never succeed, ever. So with that said, if there's any comments or questions, please feel free. Thank you.
Inshallah, thanks, brother.
mashallah.
Mashallah, yeah, brother. Verse 9 through 14, verse 9, 10, and 11, you know, even just, the authorized translation, in our language, in English, it's just so much to take in, it's like so amazing when you read these verses. It's just like, when like God says that only He understands the full meaning of His words. It's just, subhanAllah, just so much, it's amazing.
Yeah, mashallah. We see, to in those verses 9 to 12, they, submitting is already done. Like the messenger has explained, it's to submit is already done. It's just what's left for up to us is to willingly submit, and that means cheerfully too. Willingly and cheerfully, submit because everybody submits in the sense like their bodies are submitters, right? Because they come from the earth, which is a submitter, and even the disbelievers they're submitting, because they can't control their breathing, they can't regulate their heartbeat, or they can't pump the blood or any of that, or even digest their food themselves, But so all of that is submitting, but and that's where a freedom of choice to choose God or choose Satan is comes in to submit to God willingly or not submit. Mashallah.
So thank you. So it's just the three of us today. I'm showing.
Oh, just the three of us?
Yeah, the Three Stooges. So we read from 4072, right?
Yeah, 40, verse 72 to 41, verse 14.
Mm-hmm. You should read more pages like Brother Raphael.
Yeah. Yeah, I forget to set timers too. You know, I was wondering how I was doing on time.
Mashallah, brother. I think I read all the way from here, actually.
Yeah, he went to verse 75. That's when I realized he went to 4275, you know. I was thinking like he probably read like maybe a couple extra verses, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Then he said verse 75. I'm like, oh my god, he read too much. Just fun. I mean, these verses are a reminder, you know, of the people's regret and remorse when they're in hell. Again, you know, God is reminding us of what happens to these people who waste their life in this world for nothing and worship idols that mean nothing. And even though God has sent us something so profound, I mean, these people are gonna have these people who witnessed the miracle and decided not to believe, you know, are going to have more regret for being closer to God, closer to God's miracle, getting the message, you know. Like imagine people who came across Rashad alive, you know, and decided to turn away and mock him, or you know Muhammad or any of the other messengers that God talks about, and we'll all be burning in hell and suffering, and then having these kinds of thoughts on top of it, you know, alone, you know, is hell in its own right, you know, and they have it coming in all different ways, you know, everything, just nothing good happens for eternity for these people, you know, so it's like so devastating, you know. The messengers, it says in verse 18, when the messengers went to them with clear proofs, they rejoiced in the knowledge they had inherited, and the very things they ridiculed were the cause of their doom. You know? So not only did they continue to do what they were doing, but they rejoice in the idol worship and disbelief that they're committing. You know, it's one thing that you see these people don't believe in a miracle, but then they go on and on about, you know, um, uh, the elaborate expressions of their devotion to their idols. You know, like I randomly get comments from people on the YouTube the videos of the Messenger of the Covenant where they're just like praising these idols instead and putting down the message and saying things that this was wrong and stuff. And I think others, you guys also have similar experiences. But I think the reality when it hits them after they die, you know, is the world is going to turn upside down. I mean, not that they're living a better life now, but in terms of their perception of this world and what they're doing, their works and everything else, you know, they're stuck in a bubble, you know. That
Yeah.
bubble's gonna burst.
Yeah, and it's right. It's like so. I mean, for some of the stuff, like you say, we've seen. It's like it's so cringeworthy. You know, just
Mm,
like just because of how blasphemous or not to mention how ignoramus they sound, and um, you know,
mm-hmm.
it's hard not to think or just like you were saying, like think about these people, like if they don't reform, what they're going to be experiencing on that day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
the amount of
Yeah.
remorse.
What?
Uh,
Yeah. Or what we could be experiencing, if we don't make it.
right.
Also, God is reminding us, it would be, it would be kind of a waste. It would be kind of a waste when God is talking about what's going to happen to other people, But I think that all is about, getting us to think about the importance, of all of this.
Right, because yeah, obviously these people aren't going to think about this stuff, or even
Yeah.
even if they're allergic to the Quran or something,
Mm-hmm.
they're not even
Mm-hmm.
gonna. But yeah, it's more for our benefit, those who actually would want to listen and take heed, because
Mm-hmm.
like you know, uh, it's like the situation we're in. We can also end up in the lowest or the worst part of hell, which is
Mm-hmm.
extremely scary and nerve wracking to think about. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I was just listening to, I was watching one of his sermons, the messenger's sermons last night, and it was the one I think not long after his announcement, and he was talking about like the people that dropped out, when he announced his messengership, and they were like, "How come we can't just worship God alone?" Blah blah blah, and do that, but they don't realize like worshiping God alone completely entails that you have to believe in His messenger, because it's you can't worship God alone, and then like it's like saying you can, let's drive. Why can't we just drive a car with no wheels on it? Like no, you have to have the wheels on it too. That's what driving the car means. So yeah, it's a tremendous blessing, but also tremendous responsibility.
Mashallah, brother, right? That's always been God's law, the human beings, the messengers, it's always been that way. So that's totally true. It's always been this way. This has always been God's law, subhanAllah.
Right. Yeah, and it's like I mean, it's a blessing too to like, because once you realize like this person is a messenger and you believe he's a messenger, then you can rest assured and rest happy that everything he's telling you is like the truth. You don't have to have any doubts about what he's telling you. You don't have to second think it. You don't have to question it. Just accept it. Where it like if if it's coming from somebody, you're always left wondering like, oh, but this is it's a huge blessing from God too. It's not just like a test of the ego and stuff, which it's that too, but it's also for our benefit, so we can remove doubts, because God's not going to send a messenger, an authorized messenger, with proof that's been authorized, just to, have, just for us to not obey, what's being told to us and taught to us for our own good.
Mashallah, correct, brother.
You know, because it's kind of funny. Like, there's some people. I mean, you know, we have to be patient and have hope for people. But you know, it's I. You know, like someone close to me. They've gotten like kind of tripped up over Rashad's messengership and stuff. But that's such a huge part, and that's like I discussed with Brother Suleiman some time ago. It's that is so important in the sense where you know, the other issues that they're having and accepting, let's say, the predestination, like, you know, as far as God's concerned, the age of 40, that completely, you know, you have to know or believe he's a messenger in the first place to even, you know, take a step in the right direction, you know, so, you know, because we can't just be left to say, like, oh, let's not, you know, let's just do God alone and like not follow any religion, you know. But yeah.
Mashallah, brother. And, you know, like you said, it's a very, it's a huge test, you know, the messengership, not only for us, but for the messenger himself, you know, like we know, you know, how the messenger of the covenant himself, you know, it took him a while to announce that, you know, so it's not it's a test even for the messenger themselves, and the prophets that came before. It's and we see a lot of people, fail that test. They like you were talking about, they say they believe in the miracle and they believe in God, but they like God says, that the believers submit to it all, and you see that a lot of people fail this test because they don't submit completely. There's always um, something keeping them from submitting to it all, and it's part of the test. Um, Satan would try anything, and Satan finds a way with these people, So we must very important to submit to it all, When God says submit, as believers we must just submit, Subhanallah.
Yeah, and I mean, we can see from verse 9 too how they, idol worshippers, they disbelieve in the one who created the earth and the universe and the heavens and set up idols to rank with God, say, though He is the Lord of the universe. So it's very unwise to do such a thing. I was just reading something on Facebook. Like there's this person posting that they think Israel is building a third temple, and it's all conjecture and stuff. They're talking about Mark of the Beast and stuff, end of the world, and Antichrist and stuff, and then them themselves are even saying, I don't know when the rapture will take place, but I know I'm not planning to be left behind when that trumpet sounds. And then just the usual nonsense. I believe in Jesus Christ as the one and only, Savior and this and that. It's just, it's all conjecture and stuff, and you can see the doubt in these people too. But when you go to these people, you try to tell them they're, it's a false humility too, because it's like they act like they're humble or that they're willing to learn, but when you actually show them something or invite them in the best possible manner, etc., they turn very arrogant and they set up idols. They don't use their head too. It's just very unwise. Just from the perspective of like in verse 9, how could you set up Jesus, who's just one human? If you just take for a star, for example, that God has created, and the amount of energy and power just in that star, and the physics and stuff that's happening, and just different elements, and you're forgetting about God and that He created this, and you're setting up idols to rank with the Lord of this creation. very bad. But so I mean, even for people who don't, I mean, even for people that just even haven't even received scripture in a sense, they still don't have an excuse because they're free to look around, right? They look, gaze upon, like the mountains and stuff, like in verse 10 that God tells us, and or look at in the previous chapter we just read about the verse 79 of Surah 40 about the livestock. They're free and able to look around at this stuff, despite not having any scripture. So like in because we see right here, right, verse 81, it says, "He thus shows you his proofs. Which of God's proofs can you deny?" And I mean, here these people are. They completely, like the Quran says in another part, they completely recognize these proofs from God and these blessings, and then they deny them. They deny them from God, and they attribute things to their idols, and it's not going to get them anywhere.
SubhanAllah, just look at the Darwin. He was like looking at all the creation, God's creation, and because like he basically, like, I think he had read the Bible and stuff like that, and and went whatever in his path, and he's looking at all these amazing things, and he comes up with this outrageous, um, this discovery, and like you said, like, if you just pay attention to the things, like to the birds, and to God's creation, it should, subhanallah, it should be enough, it's only possible by a supreme creator, that these things are in existence, and, but subhanallah, it's God guides whoever he wills, and it's already predetermined that subhanallah, not everybody is deserves, not everybody is appreciative of God's mercy and his revelations, and subhanallah. And it's amazing, brother, because you see so many people, like the scientists and all these people, are so close, to these amazing revelations from God, and like most of them are atheists, some of them believe in that theory. I forgot his name, but Darwin's theory, and these scientists are so close to these amazing things, like they know, so much about certain things, revelations from God, and like a lot of them are atheists, it makes no sense, subhanAllah, it's yeah, it's God be glorified.
just as much as a responsibility, you know, like you said, because they, they get to, see, see many proofs and, and also with the letters too, I thought I'd bring it up again. It's interesting, for Hamim. So there's 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, and 46. So that's 7 surahs total. And the frequencies of H and M and Surah 40 we just read is 444. Right? So if we just thought about it, like if just there was one extra word, or let's say, if you're to think about it in this respect, or just tell somebody or explain a miracle, like if you were trying to put together one extra word, or you weren't paying attention, like for people who say this is from Muhammad, right? And you know how quickly, that mistake would have been made, no human, first off, could even keep track of this in their head, let alone with computers, even doing with his computers, even if you could get this far, which would be a monumental task, as I mentioned earlier, the more you read into this miracle, when you see, for example, like when you see, when you see like the surah number, the number of verses, just from like from the first occurrence of La ilaha illahu to the last occurrence of La ilaha illahu, right? So the first occurrence is in Surah 2, and I believe it's in like 100. It's in 163. 160 verse 163. And it, all the number of verses that go all the way up to the last occurrence, which is in Surah 73. If even if you were to try to make something work with by adding an extra H or M to get your multiple, and plus to get a multiple, also keep in mind, getting a multiple of 19 is extremely difficult because you can only have it in multiples of 19. Like getting a multiple of 2, which would be every other one, would be far easier, but 19 is a prime number, and it's extremely hard to to try to land it right for people who try to say this is human made. But like even if you were to get lucky or something like that would happen, which it really wouldn't, but just for purposes of this explanation, if you look at Appendix 1 on page 394, and you're reading under Table 22, it will completely throw off the sum of the verse numbers, not to mention the number of verses between just this one element, right? Just this one facet of the miracle in Table 22, which the number of occurrences of surahs and verses of between the first occurrence of La ilaha illahu and the last occurrence, which is it ranges between Surah 2 and Surah 73. So even if you manage to stick an extra H or M in there and you had to create a whole new verse or something, it would completely throw off, a number, which will throw off your total number of verse numbers, which in this table is 308,490. It would completely break, it would break that whole system. And so, you just thinking of it like that, or for explaining to somebody that, like, oh no, like a human could do this, like, no, not in a billion years. Could a human, or, even with computers or whatnot, and we know it's even more impressive because there wasn't computers at the time, So, God be glorified. He makes it very easy for people to believe. And so I think that's why maybe people who look at the miracle and don't, they have to understand it, of course, and kind of see it. And if they reject it, they're really bad people, because he makes it, sends his proofs, like the messenger said, like the cat's out of the bag, like it's these proofs stack upon each other.
SubhanAllah, it's so overwhelming, and in Surah 74, the hidden secret, God even puts, it's just so much, SubhanAllah, it's written down, and then you have this awesome miracle. You know, it's just so amazing. Inshallah. It's like it's no confusion, you know. This couldn't be from nobody, from no human being, you know. Subhanallah, this is from God, you know. It's just so overwhelming, and it can only be from God, Subhanallah, you know. It's amazing, Subhanallah.
Yeah, subhanallah, you know. Because, I mean, any alteration of a single letter, H or M, in any of the 7 HM initial surahs would have destroyed this intricate phenomenon. You know, and so, I mean, we know just us, ourselves, typing stuff out or writing an essay or stuff like we've done for school. I mean, how many mistakes we made, let alone, I mean, we've never even written a book. You know, I mean, written a book would take years and, you know, yeah, God be glorified. So, are there any other comments or questions on the verses we read or anything off topic? Okay, well, God willing, we can conclude the study. Thank you all for joining. God willing, our next study will be on Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and 11 a.m. Central time. God bless you all. Assalamu alaikum.
God bless you all. Assalamu alaikum.